Hi, everybody. Welcome to Euroshop. It's been a long 3 years, hasn't it? Great. As Nancy just said, I'm Sharon and Marco.
Hello, everybody. Marco.
We're going to talk to you today about just how we think about the design process. It's not only intention and emotion, or emotion and intention. It's really that combination together that we believe is our secret sauce in the way we think about things. But we want to sort of set the stage a little bit. You know, we all have our norms, how we think about design. We've been thinking a lot about climate, and we do want to talk to you just a little bit about that as well and how we think about it. And then, of course, we all experienced COVID, and we're coming back out of it, but it really did change the way we think and the way we do things. And so we have a new set of toolkits that we want to talk about. So norms. You know, you think about form and function. I mean, that is sort of inbred in our brains and the design process. And, you know, beauty and harmony has been around for hundreds of years, and it really does influence the way, you know, we think and the way we design. And we have to think about people. You know, people love to be together. People love to share places and spaces together. And if you're thinking about that envelope of design, you've got to think about the people. And then, of course, we've got, you know, the architecture. And, you know, we've got a lot of starchitects out there and a lot of people that think it's one way, but we're going to show you a different way. But first, climate. You know, we've really been thinking about climate, and we touch the footprint of cities and spaces, and they're there for a very, very long time. And we do create a lot of pollution as we design spaces and places. And the global footprint that we're touching through our supply chain is also an impact. And we're starting to think about, you know, reuse and how do we reuse products, and a lot of them are here if you've walked around. And there's no planet B, so we really need to be very thoughtful of our design and our design process. And then there's COVID. Not only were we thinking about just the norms and the framework about how we design, climate, and how we're impacting, you know, this planet, and as we're putting out new stores or restaurants, et cetera, but COVID changed everything. A lot of you were here right before COVID. The planes stopped. The hospitals got overrun. We couldn't touch our families or our friends. There was a lot of loss, a lot of loneliness, a lot of uncertainty. I mean, New York City, in the middle of Times Square, I live in the city, it was empty, and everything closed down. It really started to change the way we thought about places and spaces. We had our own places and spaces that we had to stay in, we couldn't get out of. And then we just don't know what the impact is going to be in the environment. The new normal started being scenes like this. And then this was another new normal as we started coming back together. Who worked out in a bubble? It was the most bizarre time, and it really made us rethink the way we do things. So we had to have some new tools. This statement, to me, kind of sums it up, and it's been around a while. But think about it, like that discomfort. We need to be thinking about the opportunities. Lots of questions. Still have to think left and right, that balance. But what is the impact at the end of the day that we're really trying to create when we are creating spaces and places? We've got lots of choices. We started going in a lot of different directions. But at the end of the day, we kind of came up with a new set of tools. Not anything new, but just rethinking. A lot of us were designing from afar, but then when we did come back together, we really wanted to put empathy, emotion, and intention and emotion back in the equation and at the center of things. And this gentleman, not so long ago, started rethinking how he was going to impact the world. The Earth, the planet, became his biggest shareholder. So people are thinking about impact of places and spaces, that human impact, the user impact. We're at a crossroads. We're trying to figure out how to come back as a community and really come together again. And our teams are really thinking about that end user at the end of the day. How we design as humans also humans are going to enjoy our designs. Intention and emotion, emotion and intention. We're going to share some stories with you, and I'm going to hand it over to Marco.
Hello, everybody. Well, we don't see our clients only as projects. We try to see the stories that are behind them. And this type of process came to the studio to stay forever, we think. One of the projects that we like to show is El Mercadillo in Argentina. This project is about agroecological consciousness. It's about agribusiness in Argentina and not take it seriously and using toxins to create our food. So Mickey and Walter had the idea and the dream to create this point and this network of agroecological producers and fruits and vegetables and meats. So they called us and told us, we want a place to get united the producers and the organic consumers, not only one place, we want a whole network. So we started the design. First, we put the name. The name is El Mercadillo, that in English is the little market. And the story begins with an old house that they have to recycle and bring it back to the 21st century. The gesture that we decided to do is a wooden tunnel to say hello, that is warm, that is friendly, and of course, with a lot of messages to learn about the food that we are consuming. We have two sides, the vegetable size, and we have the meat side, like a refrigerator style. And the next one, please.
I'm sorry.
We finally made the facade that is lettering, normal colors, just a low profile. After opening, these guys were amazed about the people's reaction. They already found 5 locals after this, and they are getting this network super strong after this design. The next story is about Brevet Cycling Cafe in Barcelona. It's about passion, it's about sport, it's about open life, and it's about coffee lovers and good food. Road cycling in Barcelona is a huge deal. Brings a lot of people together, and they really get committed to the sport and to the open life. So we were inspired by this story. And this is about an old cafeteria that was in the neighborhood square that it was closed. So we got the intention to revitalize the area too. Edgar and Adolfo wanted to have a club to get together, to talk about sports, to encourage these sports, and to bring some people to talk about this.
So again, hopefully you're seeing a theme about intention and emotion. We really do believe that those two things together bring the best experiences, and we're also showing you some projects where the intention of reusing a space is really important, and also just bringing out that emotion of what that space was and what it can be.
So we have the place, we have some institutions around, we have offices, hospitals, and a lot of places that might enjoy coffee. But the question was how to make a cyclist cafe inside a cafeteria. We did just a fan club hidden inside this cozy cafeteria. We just wanted to generate an openness and flexibility gesture to create good emotions. And very important, non-bikers friendly too. It's a place for everybody in the neighborhood. We wanted a smell of sports and cyclists, but good food and coffee lovers too. Talking about the reuse, with the kitchen and the system and the structures and the materials, we were near the 50% of the reusing of the old cafeteria. And for bikers, we create a bike parking, we create art interventions, we create a photographical tour about the history of cycling. We create a lot of different things that are there, but they're not, you know? We create a book club, and finally, we create this theater mode where a screen comes and you can watch the races or take courses or bring someone to speak to the bikers. Since they're open, they revolutionized the square. The square is finally feeling like a meeting point again for the neighborhood. And they are very excited right now. We are working in the next project, this time in Bilbao, another historical building to reduce and serving a cycling cafe. This is the rendering. The next story, I love it, is Convento. It's a gallery of artisans in a very creative neighborhood in Argentina. This place is about passion, it's about art, it's about design, it's about local flavors that are really amazing in that neighborhood, and it's about the whole house from the beginning of the 20th century that it was used to students for study for being priests. Marcelo was the client, and he knew the value of the neighborhood. He really loved the design, and he really loved being there and eating there. So he decided to create a hub.
So again, intention and emotion, emotion and intention. Really thinking about what that place and space was and how it could bring a community together and a shared space that really allowed commerce of the people that actually lived there.
So we start the design, we start making some noise and creating some situations, fighting with the city hall because it's a historical building, so trying to save it, but trying to have a good gallery and good shopping at the same time. Decided the name, that is Convento, it's a place for priests, and we continue with the next level, that is cleaning the house, let's say. We found this house that it was like very low situation, and we had to clean everything that all the years added to the house. And after recycling the house, we had to find her a new role in this century. With some metal colors, glasses, and lighting, vegetation, we managed to create a lot of environments that are flexible and are very supportive for these artisans. And this is their home right now. This is the central patio. There are like 8 ateliers, 2 restaurants, and in the back patio we have a handcraft fair and coffees. So they live here practically, and they really love this place. With the recovered windows and doors, we create this little old scenario of an old street that leads you directly to the art craft fair. And in the meantime, we met a lot of artisans that are very happy to have this place and representation in the city. They practically live here, as I said, and they really love this place. Right now, this place in the city represents a sensation of support and promotion for the art, local art, and gastronomy, and this design.
And the last but not least presentation of a project that we worked on is about kids. This one was super fun. It is in Argentina, but it was actually done over the summer, right? You shut down for the summer. So this was done in like 3 months. So kids left, went on summer break, and then they came back. And again, the intention and the emotion. The intention is a school. The emotion is it's children. And so how do you bring those two things together and really create an environment that's going to be educational but also inspiring?
Well, we asked them how do they teach, and they told us the David Thornburg theory that is generating different areas for different teachings. So it's a campfire, the cave, the water well, and the life. So we started the design. Rather than to raise emotion, we have the fears that to make magic, as you see. This is the whole building. And we designed this, and sincerely, the first thing we did is put ourselves in the children's feet, or try to do that. And the most crazy ideas came after. The teachers of the kindergarten were part of the brainstorming, and the most incredible intentions came after that, because we have, sky painted ceilings, like rocks for learning in a rock, in a mountain. Flexibility was very important. So we have a super big hall that then gets to be each a room. And finally, we have, well, a lot of intense design here. And the cutest bathroom, of course. Good.
Cool. So what we started with was form and function, the traditional norms. And then through just the time and experience over the last few years, we really felt like bringing empathy and that human experience was so important. We decided that feeling was the thing that sort of grounded us in our design process around form and function. So form, function, and feeling is really what we're thinking about. So how do you get yourself creating and being a part of a story? That's sort of the question we'd like to leave you with and open it up for any questions that you may have. And if you want to scan and find us later to chat, we'd love it. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our speakers today? That must have been a fascinating experience, especially the last one. Really, you must have, can you imagine you physically maybe getting down at the height of a child and imagining what they see and trying to remember what they feel. How could you advise someone who is thinking of maybe getting more of the feeling into their plan? What would you say is a first step in doing that? Okay, you had very different situations, but generally, what would you say to someone who wanted to really move in that direction?
Start.
I think the first step for us is making a lot of questions, a sheet of questions for the correct person. It's not that we're talking to every kid, but talking to the kindergarten teachers was a perfect idea. They were almost part of the design process. And talking to the correct people is very important. You test first, and then you start designing and go back and test again. That is, for us, the correct process of doing this.
One of our previous speakers talked about also talking with people and said he always asked, what is your pain? Tell me about your pain. How do you see that? Is that an approach that you also embrace, or do you go about it differently?
Well, one thing that was interesting, again, and we picked these 4 projects specifically because the pain was an old place or space that wasn't either functioning or had a function at one point and was deserted. And so the intention of turning it into something else was really important. I think, the children's school, it had a very specific intention. And the one slide, it just showed what a usual kindergarten room looks like, very haphazard and not so
hard
finished.
edges,
but not very interesting. And the whole idea, I think of strategy first, and what is it that we're trying to achieve? It could be a pain point, but if you really understand that strategy and what the intention is, then I think that emotion and getting the people involved that are going to be using it, I think is really important.
I think for me, the 4 cases has one pain that is in common: not feeling inspired by the user. Not being inspired is a pain.
Yeah.
We have another couple of questions here. Oh.
Hi.
Test.
There you go.
Oh, there I am.
There we go.
The voice of God.
Hey, David.
Going from the banal to the wonderful in the kids' school, have you been able to gather any data on whether or not engagement has changed, whether the students are performing better because they're in a more enlivened space like that? Have you? I know it was last summer you did it, so you may not have more than one semester, but it'll be really interesting to find out what is the sort of psychological impact that has had, and the performance impact that it's had.
Well, we have been there inside a class a whole day with Brian.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. The synergy, the learning synergy that they live right now is incredible. The teachers are very happy, and the measures that they do are increasing. And they're happy too, I think, because they want to do the whole school right now. So I suppose it works.
We wanted to do a video of the kids using it, but we couldn't in enough time. But to that point, everybody is excited about it, and there's just a different life, and we wanted to show and share that. But you can say that about all of the experiences, like the biking, you know, the camaraderie. It's really a design for everyone, but bikers and town people come together, and they're sort of converging in that space, and it's just perfect, but very thematic. And the fact that the market, you're on the 5th one now, that's pretty incredible. I mean, you think about, and having been in the grocery industry myself, changing a design of a grocery store is actually quite challenging, and those are little footprints, and they're more, you know, bodega than grocery, but still very thoughtful in terms of, you know, fruits and vegetables and meats and poultry, et cetera. Very divided, but also very unique. That is doing very well.
Yes. I think in case of the Brevet Cycling Cafe, the big question was, what if the bikers don't come?
Yeah.
Just people come, but not bikers. Could happen. But they took it. So they are getting reunited there, and then they go around the mountains and come back and have the meal and talk. Well, they are using it. So
And you're doing a second location.
And we're doing Bilbao, so
Yeah.
it's working.
You could have got the other kind of bikers too. You know.
Can you speak into the,
Hello?
Mike.
Similarly, I was going to say, what is the public response to these reinventions, and how are people responding? Are they coming in droves, specifically in El Mercadillo, or the Little Market, and the convent?
Oh, convento.
Come on, El Convento.
I didn't get it.
How is the
Hold a little bit closer, Richard.
What's the public response?
Yeah. All right.
Are people coming in? Are they accepting these new places as renovated? And obviously, afterwards you came out there, you're rolling them out. So obviously it's working. But that was my question.
Well, in Convento, it took a little while because, let's say, the neighborhood rejected the idea at the beginning. But the idea was to connect the neighborhood with the rest of the city. In fact, the place that is geographically the place is between the neighborhood and the rest of the downtown. So it is like a bridge in a way. And slowly it started to grow and grow and grow. And right now it's a very important point. But it was slower than the other ones. In Mercadillo, for example, it was like that. The people really wanted to eat healthy. And it is a big problem, what I'm talking about. There are no organic food around. So basically, they were the only one in the area.
Thank you.
Well, the front row.
So this is a question about design process, the feelings part, right? Mm-hmm. So for yourselves, how much of the design process, getting into the feelings part, is like method acting, is like projecting yourself into the user or the brand?
Yeah.
Are you a biker? Are you a parent of a young child? How important is that to you?
Well, the first question was, I was trying to start that conversation. It's a big one. It's a big challenge because you shouldn't think as you should think as another one that you are not. So the correct process for us is, first of all, make an environment of questions, from the intention to the emotion that we want to generate, maybe, and then go straight to people and make a real investigation. It took some time. I am a biker anyway, because that one was easy, and organic consumer too, but the kids, teachers, that was the key of the question, teachers, because they are the only ones that can speak the both language, kindergarten teachers. And in Convento, the artisans were there in the process too, and Marcelo, the client, lives in the neighborhood and know everybody. So we have kind of an important research, personal research in these cases. When it gets bigger and we don't have that type of connection, we try to connect with information that is already there and talk to referents that can bring real information, measurable information to make decisions, because if not, you're kind of being crazy. You know?
And from my point of view, I do like to, I don't want to say project, but I think there's a lot of research and questioning and workshopping to get to a pretty good brief that articulates the direction for the team, and making sure that you're always looking through that lens of the design that you're trying to complete. And if something along the way in the process shows up and says, doesn't quite work, doesn't quite fit, keeping that lens is important, but knowing that you can change it because you've discovered something else, and it might be a better end use or a better solution. But I do think it's really, and that's why we've talked about the intention and the emotion working together, because they balance each other out. It's almost like left and right brain. But that feeling part, that end use part, that emotion part between the form and function is, I think, really critical to a successful design. Yeah. Did that answer? Okay, cool. Anybody on this side? We've got most of the questions from this side.
Well, I think it's a super note to end on, what you
Okay,
said.
perfect.
So if there are no other questions, then I say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.